Well, welcome to the design talk here at the Myers Touch. It's lovely for you to join us tonight, and we really value you committing 40 to 45 minutes of your time to listen to myself. I'm Keith Myers, I'm Managing Director here at the Myers Touch.
And I'm Jay Tidbury. I'm Kitchen Design Manager here at the Myers Touch. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're looking forward to sharing our tips and tricks with you. I hope you enjoy it.
So, our design talk series, which we're going into now, is a special one for us, this particular type of one, because we haven't done this one for a little while, which is actually quite nice. So tonight, hopefully, you're going to get what we call 5 steps to starting your new kitchen, which is really important. These are things that we've learned over the years that really help a project progress well. And as you probably know, building work, construction work, home renovation is fraught with challenges and problems, particularly now during the COVID time. So some of these steps that we want to take you through tonight and the things that we've learned, we really hope will benefit you during your own projects. So, well, we've just introduced ourselves, but who the heck are the Myers Touch? Well, that's us. So, so just a few things really about us, just so you know who we are and a little bit about what we're about. This is our studio here in Winchester in Hampshire. We're just outside of Winchester, which is great for things like parking, so we're not city centre. And we have our beautiful studio here, which we designed with working with one of our architects as a collaboration to create this beautiful home. As you can see, we're members of the KBSA, which is Kitchen, Bedrooms, Bathrooms Specialist Association, members of SBID, which is the Society of British and International Design. Both of those I've lectured at over the last few years. Particularly also, I'm a regular speaker at Grand Designs Live in London and Birmingham, and I've done that for the last few years. Also spoken on design at 100% Design, and you'll see here KBIS, which is the Kitchens and Bathrooms International Show, which takes place in America. It's America's largest show. I spoke there last year in a digital way, and both myself and my wife are again going over to the States this year, again as speakers for that event. So this is inside our studio. So just kind of roughly, we're at the back part of the studio at the moment, so you won't be able to see this with our display that we have behind us here. So we're delighted to say, you know, a little bit about us is that we love what we do, and we love the whole process, and we love creating great spaces for our clients. And we were delighted over the last couple of years to have won Kitchen Showroom of the Year, and we've since been up for Kitchen Showroom of the Year every year until 2022, when we were delighted, so 2021, which we were delighted to actually win Kitchen Retailer of the Year. Now, Kitchen Retailer of the Year, you won't know this, it's the top award in our industry to win, so we're really delighted to receive that recognition for what we do here. You might be a little bit more familiar with House. This is an American company, which is a little bit like a board that you can log into on the internet. It has lots and lots and lots of different pictures. And we are delighted to have had, for the last 5 years, the Service and Design Awards. The Service Awards are obtainable by us by getting clients to basically do a rating of us. And as long as we get 4 or 5 stars, and we're basically a 5-star business, we're delighted to get that. The Design Awards we have no control over. This is actually the clients, you looking at your houses and saving pictures, our pictures, to your ideas boards, and then House take the top 5% of designers globally, and they award you a design award. To have both means you're in the top 3% globally of design studios in the kitchen sector, but also in other sectors as well. So that's great to have that. We're primarily a thematic retailer. You can see this here. It's a high-end German luxury brand, which we use. That said, when I say luxury, it's not mega bucks. It actually starts at realistic figures of around about £30,000–35,000 and then to go up as well. But we also have our own bespoke side. This is a kitchen that is currently in, I think it's, I forgot the name of the magazine now, but it's Home and Country Interiors this month. This project is actually in that magazine. So we do an element of bespoke, and this is some aspects of what we call the more classical end of what we do. But we do other aspects of bespoke work as well. This is a project that we've just completed towards the end of last year. And we've been, you can see here, we're finalists in the Society of British Interior Design designer awards, and also in designer awards for the UK, and also KBSA design awards for particular kitchen. So really just kind of expose, hopefully, that a little bit about who we are and our journey to get to where we've got to. So just before I go into Jay, who's going to start off kicking off on this first slide, I just want to mention that tonight on our talk, we'll be taking questions at the end. One of my colleagues, Sophie, hopefully is on the chat bar tonight. I can't see the chat bar here, so I'm relying on you guys to look at that. And if you want to ask any questions or raise any comments during the time, then at the end we'll pick up any of those questions, or ask Sophie anything you want to during the thing. She's very happy to delve a little bit deeper, or share information and detail of that. So that's great. So welcome, Sophie, to the call. I can't see her, but I know she's on here. So over to Jay.
Hello, thank you, Keith. So the light bulb moment. So the first sort of step to creating your new space, your new kitchen. Perhaps you have woken up and thought, right, okay, let's start this project. There's obviously been a drive behind that. Your family, perhaps there's different dynamics now, there's more members, you want to interact more with your garden. Obviously, coronavirus has had a huge impact on us. So that might be changing the way you live in your home now. So let me walk you through the journey on the first few steps for creating your dream kitchen. So I mentioned the idea, the need, that sort of drive to start your project. So what is it? You need to ask yourself, why are we doing this? It's a lot of work, it's a lot of expense, time. The idea and the need has come from something, a change in your lifestyle. Perhaps you work from home more, perhaps you have grandchildren and you want to have them around more, perhaps your children are getting older and you want them sort of connecting with you a little bit more, get them in the kitchen. Perhaps that's what it is, and you need to think of a new way of configuring your home and your kitchen to combat that.
Absolutely, excellent.
So thinking ahead, now it's quite tricky. There's a lot to think about. There's so many products out there. There's so many people out there that can help you. So it's critical for people to get involved as early as possible. So if you have an idea and you're not sure where to go first, come and have a chat with people like us as early as possible. I'd say 80% of our customers come actually a little bit too late. If we can get involved as early as possible, look at your space, we will have suggestions for you to make the most of that space, the flow of the home, how it's going to connect with the family, yourself, your pets, all sorts. So thinking ahead is key. A lot of people think that the kitchen will come last because, yes, it is the last thing that's going to be fitted if you're having an extension or a new build. But actually, if we can get involved that a little bit earlier and say, perhaps you should have slightly wider bifold doors, or have you considered putting a window here, etc., etc. It's better to get that done earlier on to save money, time, and expense. Okay, research. Hopefully, this is sort of the start of your research during our design talks. We have many more design talks on our YouTube channel as well, so feel free to have a look on our website, follow the links, lots of free helpful tips that can help you. It might be that you want to start getting a list together of different professionals that you want to deal with, colours, textures, and the feel of the whole space and how you want to live. Pinterest is fantastic, house, etc. Okay, and then engaging professionals, I just touched on it slightly. Architects you might need to get in touch with. Perhaps you need to speak to somebody about lighting your garden, if you're connecting the inside with the outside, which is what we're very passionate about. We do have a design talk on that as well. So perhaps a garden designer would be a real helpful benefit of this project too. Getting them involved early, and hopefully they'll be inspiring you and be on the same wavelength with you, and you can start your project going smoothly. Okay, and so making informed decisions. So it's very difficult because there's so many decisions to make. The layout of the space, colours, deciding who you're going to go with, the product, what style you want to go for. But essentially, it's making decisions that are going to be for hopefully a lifetime or a long amount of time. So you want to take that slowly, be organised, and make sure you've got the right people involved that are on the same page as you to make sure you're going to make those right informed decisions. And then hopefully by that point the dream is realised.
There you go. So it's we just kind of very stop to them. It's going to drill into some of those details a little bit more in what we're talking about here, and it's all in the timing. What do we mean by it's all in the timing? Well, basically, I think the thing is that people kind of come into us and particularly in these times will say to us, okay, I first fixed my room, the builder's coming in here and I need the kitchen in a month. Well, actually that is, well, to do anything well, it's actually impossible to do that. I mean, most suppliers right now have major lead times on their projects, but even in normal circumstances, good quality kitchens and well-considered projects do take time, and the whole process of doing that is really key. So what we actually want to say here about reverse engineering is rather than starting today and then kind of projecting out, you actually do it the other way around, and you project out and saying, okay, my project, I want my kitchen installed, let's just say for 1st of April. That's probably not a good choice because April Fool's Day, but let's just say 1st of April. Right now, we can't do a kitchen by the 1st of April for many reasons. You just can't get the products in time to do that right now. And also our fitting calendar is booked up until May. So we're realistically talking to people now that are looking to fit kitchens in the early to late summer period. So we're talking of May, June, July, August timescale. That's where we are. But actually, if you are looking at particular products, that also, some of them are on horrendous lead times right now. We have some suppliers on 10-month lead time for particular products. We have a particular company's wine fridge that we ordered in August the 4th, and we still haven't obtained it, and it's not due, well, it was due next month, but even now they're beginning to backtrack on that. So we're talking about significant lead times. So third-party lead times are really significant in your project. And we don't want you to be in a position where everything is finished, the extension's there, the new house is there, but your kitchen is coming in 2 months late or something. Oh, that should have clicked. I don't know why it's not clicking. Try again. Here we go. Right, so let me just kind of break down in how we actually would do that. So someone walks in today and says, right, we'd like you to design our kitchen. How long does it take? Well, actually, I've designed a kitchen in a week for somebody. They know what they wanted. They were very straightforward with it. We were there quite quickly. They came back a week later, loved what they saw, signed up, and we got on and did the project for them fairly quickly. To be brutally honest, that is very rare that happens. Yes. It does, and when it does, it's absolutely delightful that does happen. But most people, particularly at our end of the market, where we're mid to high end from an investment point of view, it's a lot of money to invest, whatever the budget is for a project, and therefore spending appropriate amounts in time of design is really key. And in my light space and laughter talk, I often refer to this whole thing of when you're walking down the aisle, you want to make sure you've had enough time in the dating process before you put the ring on the finger. And this is what we're talking about here. This can easily take a couple of weeks at the very minimum, but realistically, it can be 1, 2, 3 months. We've had some clients that have spent, well, we've just done one client now that spent nearly a year in the design process because it's a very significant project with many different parts. So then we're a design company fundamentally. Obviously, we have to sell kitchens because that's how we make our income. But actually, decision time is really important, that you craft out enough time to make an informed choice. We're not a high-pressure sales organization. We're not going to try and manipulate you and push you into doing something. So you need to allow your own time to stand back and to enjoy the process of choosing. We'll come on to that a little bit later. Now, I've just touched on manufacturing time. I mean, if I go back 2 years, pre-coronavirus, I could get you a kitchen from Somatic, high-end German kitchen, and a laminate kind of door finish and a few ranges of that in 4 weeks. Right now, the default standard time is 8 to 10 weeks. So we're literally talking of 2 months more from what it should take in normal situations. And some aspects of that are even worse with regard to lead times. We've just been, I don't know if any of you get the Sunday Times, but we've just been delightful to be quoted in the home section of the Sunday Times this week, where we've been asked this question, and we've just been explaining to people that if you want a kitchen for the springtime, you're really too late, unless you just go and buy something off the shelf at IKEA or Howdens or something, which is obviously not our market. So really planning this in. So you're coming back to the whole process of saying, okay, I'm installing the kitchen. I need to allow time for that. I need to allow time to go through the design process and be able to make the decision. And then I need to allow manufacturing time. It's a struggle right now to do a kitchen within 4 to 5 months. And that's the sort of timescale you need to be thinking at for a basic kitchen, in the sense of the entry-level materials that have shorter manufacturing times. We have some products on 20 weeks lead time for materials. And like I was saying earlier, some of our appliance manufacturers are even longer. I just want to give you an example about us being engaged early in a kitchen. This is a project that was in 25 Peaceful Kitchens a few years ago now. And it's just outside Romsey near Southampton in Hampshire. And we were invited to do this project, which we loved. And if you've got that kitchen there, it's really lovely. So when I was there for the photo shoot, it was about a year after it was installed, I asked this kind of dangerous question of the client and said, so is there anything you would have done differently? And you kind of probably can't see this, but in this picture here, you can just see that the island is not lined up with the side of the window. And now, if I hadn't mentioned that, you probably wouldn't notice, because actually it's proportioned in the space really well and works really well. But actually, in this particular house, you came in the front door, and there's a very linear corridor that ran from the front door down through the house into a small extension, what this is, into that little seating area, and then straight out. And that window lined up with the building coming all the way back. But as you can see, the island is offset. And what the client said to us is, I wish I'd brought you in earlier, because had we done this, I would have moved that right-hand wall where those tool units are, half a metre to the right, so my island lined up. Then my window would line with my island, which would line up with my archway, which would line up with my doorway, which would line up with my hallway. Now, it's a very little subtle thing, but it's a real example of not engaging things, or not allowing enough time in the process to be able to do things. So, over to you.
Yeah, so research and discovery, very, very important. There's a lot to research and a lot to discover. So it's why, what, and who. So why? We need to know your needs. So what are the needs for your project? Like I mentioned earlier, perhaps you've had a lifestyle change. You want to draw more friends and family into your space. You want it to be a space where you feel calm and relaxed. Perhaps at the moment there's windows in the wrong place, it's dark, and you want to introduce more light and energy into the space. So lots of different needs for different people and different families. What else? You've got delight. So when you walk into a space, you want to feel a certain way. So you walk in and you think, oh, at the moment, it's chaotic, it's unorganized. I don't really want to cook in this space. Perhaps you feel it's really difficult to clean. Perhaps you're just not really a fan of the appliances you have. You don't have enough seating areas, that sort of thing. So you want to come in and feel like you want to be in that space, you feel calm, you feel peaceful, or you feel energized to cook and you feel inspired to cook in that space. Hopefully throughout coronavirus you've perhaps taken up a new hobby and you enjoy cooking now, and you'd like to spend more time tootling around the kitchen and just slowing down the pace a little. I think also a really good way of looking at this is, if you're currently living in a space with a small kitchen and everybody comes into the kitchen to be with you, it's the heart of the home, which is lovely, but actually they're a little bit in the way. You want to open it up slightly, more open plan living, which a lot of people are doing now. This heart of the home is really lovely concept, but we try and flip that and look at it as the home of the heart. So does your heart feel at home in that space? Do you feel comfortable, warm and relaxed in that space? Partners. So we need to think about who we're going to be trusting our huge project with. And that project could be as small as, I want to be putting a new island into my kitchen, or I'm having a brand new build. It's different for everybody. So we need to make sure that you have a trusted advisor involved in your project, which is somebody that you trust, you know, that's going to work collaboratively with you and your family to make sure that you achieve the best design possible. So this could be a kitchen designer, and definitely a kitchen designer rather than a kitchen planner, because that's when you know that there's going to be synergy throughout the house and from the inside outside and the outside inside. So make sure you're finding a kitchen designer rather than a planner. That's really key. Who else? Architects that are really on the same wavelength as you, interior designers and builders, so on. And last of all, obviously our design talk. So lovely that you're joining us this evening. All of our previous ones are on the website and on YouTube. So that's a really good way of gaining more research and inspiration for your project. We also are hosting every Friday from the 21st a Ask the Experts little panel. We're doing a little Zoom call, half an hour every Friday. Myself or Sophie, my fellow kitchen designer. So please tune in. We'd love to see you there. So this is a couple of examples here on what I mean by having that close relationship with your designer and having a really clear idea on what you think will be relaxing, how you want to feel in your home. So these lovely customers of ours, they had a beautiful penthouse overlooking Spinnaker Tower in Portsmouth. And you can see here it's quite a nautical theme, and I believe they were sailors, and they did really love that nautical theme throughout the house. So this island is inspired by a boat. It's got a beautiful sweeping shape with some bespoke veneering on the front there. It's got a beautiful view from the hob looking out to the Spinnaker Tower, so really lovely place to cook and prep their food of an evening. I know the wife was really, really keen on turtles, and a little personal touch there is having the turtle and the bespoke splashback for them. So really lovely, thoughtful design that we've done for them. So a great example there for you. Keith?
Thank you. For some reason my little screen is not gone full screen. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Right, there we go. So budget. Oh, the dreaded budget. So identifying the budget, which I think is a really important thing, because some of these things can actually cost quite a lot of money. And how do we know that you're getting value for the investment that you're making? Well, one thing I have learned over the years is that value is an incredibly personal thing. And for some people, I've had them, come in and say to me, do you know what? I want this particular sink by Dawn Brackett's, £3,000, and got to have it, and I'll trade off other things to have this particular sink. Or vice versa, I've had people say, oh, I want to use the old kitchen sink because there's nothing wrong with it, and I want it to make it. And this is absolutely fine. I think one of the things is that when you are making choices, you make choices based on your own preferences and what is important to you. So another great example of where value can be taken, and people are happy to invest more in something, is something like a boiling hot water tap. You can pay between an entry level boiling hot water, a nice cooker hot tap, between £1,000 to £1,200 to buy that. Whereas you can wander into Robert Dyer's and grab a kettle for £25. So a lot of kettles would last the life of a cooker tap. But actually, that's a real value decision. And that's just a very small point where you start to make that decision. And our job as designers is not to force products onto you. It's about to help you understand what is in the market and to have this conversation, this collaboration as designer and as client, to work out what is working best for you, where you want to invest your money, and how you want to do that. And for different people, it works out in a very, very different way, which is absolutely fine. So I think one of the things that it probably is really worth touching on right now is that in our industry we're seeing significant escalation in costs, and this is, well, it's life, I suppose, really, isn't it? It's not anything that any of us like. But I remember we have a client currently is on site. He had a pre-COVID quote for all the rafters in his roof of about £13,000, and went back to the supplier, and it came back in at £18,000 of literally 6 months later. He went out for another quote, and it came back at £29,000. So that's just wood. That's the cost of wood has increased significantly. And this just rolls out into many aspects of our industry. I think in some senses we've seen prices be moderate, in the sense that there may be between 5 to 10% gain on a project. But if you roll that out, if you're we're on site with a client has a £1.4 million build, suddenly you say 10% on that, it's another £150,000 nearly. So there is some significant things to really realise about the costs that are involved, really budgeting for them. So this whole link now comes back, linking into personal value, is what is important to you, where do we need to invest the money to get your best bang for your buck, basically. But actually to still give that whole essence, because the last thing you want to do is cut something down. So when you walk in, you've still spent what is still a lot of money, and you look at it and think, oh, it's not what I hoped for. And that's our job, to really, really excite and bring spaces we were just talking about earlier that delight you when you walk in and have that excitement of the space that you're enjoying. So another kind of key thing I think that we found out when you are talking about what to invest is what we call a flexible budget or a fixed budget. And it's really interesting because when we are going through a design consultation with a client and we're touching on the aspect of budget, some people are incredibly clear about what they want to spend. And they say, okay, I want to spend, I don't know, £50,000 and I'm not a penny over. And I say, okay, well, that's fine. And then what we do is we take the budget and we roll that back into the design, and we start with, various, okay, what appliance manufacturer do they want? But to be honest with you, most people really don't know what a kitchen costs. They know what they'd like it to cost, which is as little money as possible to get everything that they want. But actually, the reality is that it doesn't work like that. So you can fix the budget, roll back, and then you adapt your design to that budget so you don't go over that. As long as your expectations are realistic with regard to what things cost in the marketplace, then that is actually a great way to control your budget and to get a great outcome. Even in those situations, I think sometimes it doesn't always work out as planned, and that can be tweaked a little bit. The other way to do it is what we call a flexible budget. That's a little bit more risky. Now, as designers, people often come to us and say, do you know what, I don't want budget to constrain what you want to design. And that actually, although we understand the mentality behind that, was we don't want to limit, actually that can be quite difficult for us, because we were working on a kitchen yesterday, or capable at £25,000, and we have another kitchen at the moment that's £250,000. Well, yeah. That's a huge spectrum of details, and I'll talk about that in my next bit in a second. I'll go into a bit more of that. But actually, budget guidance is really helpful, because there is what I call the wince point that everybody has, and they're thinking, do you know what, I'm spending £35,000 and I only budgeted for 30, and I'm really kind of beginning to struggle now, and I'm feeling uncomfortable with that. And we need to help you through that process. And being honest with us about that is really helpful. But a budget is actually made up just like your credit card bill. Every time my credit card bill comes through and I look through and look at the amount at the bottom, and I'm still thinking they've added it up wrong. And actually once I did actually get a calculator out and check it, and unfortunately it was right. But it's the final number, it's all the little decisions and choices you've made up during the design process to have what you want. And we do encourage you at the beginning of the process, definitely, to go for that aspiration of what you really, really want. If we know what your budget is, we can guide you on particular choices of how to do that. And an obvious one would be on appliances. You know, you can buy an oven probably for about £300. Miele do an £8,500 oven. So, you know, it's very easy to spend a lot of money by using particular things. So we can guide you through that process and help you set the budget. This is what we call chunking the budget, which actually, if you do go on our website, there is a little talk that I've done of how to budget a kitchen. And when clients come into us and they really don't know how much they need to spend for what they want. So I kind of say to them, look, here's 5 steps to do. I'm not going to go through that with you now because it will be too long, but it's on our website, and we give you 5 areas to prepare a budget before you sit down with a designer, and then that gives them some guidance of how to work through. This is just an example of a kitchen that a client came to us who didn't think they could afford us. They'd already been to another kitchen company, and for some reason their price had shot up by 30%, and they were a little bit shocked by that. And they just came to us for a competitive quote. And actually, as a premium dealer with a somatic kitchen, they weren't expecting us to be competitive. And I didn't know what the other client was or the other company was charging. But we ended up actually being very competitive price-wise. They then upgraded the kitchen, and they then extended the kitchen into this kind of wine area that you see on the left-hand side. Ended up with a really fantastic project, but working with the client and having this conversation about what they want to spend and how they want to spend it is a really important part of the process.
So making an early commitment, and that may sound a little bit scary, especially when there's so many decisions to make. You don't want to rush into a decision and committing to something. But if you are basically going through this process, we need to make sure that you're making the right decision relatively early, and there is an art to doing that. So the art of decision making. So what we need to do is make sure there is plenty of clarity throughout designing the kitchen. You're with the right people, the right partners, the right experts that are going to help you and support you through it. So if you have a gut feeling and you think, yes, 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 this is all going well, there is no harm in making that early commitment to someone. This will ensure that there's enough time scheduled for your project. That goes for, our work, architects' work, builders' work, etc. And the timeline is flowing nicely, especially at the moment with all of the supply chain issues. Appliances are secured and orders are secured at an earlier sort of stage. So that is all great. So early commitment is fantastic. Partnership is touched on that slightly. So if you have a kitchen designer, your architect, maybe a garden designer, interior designer, or just a builder, and you've got those partnerships and you know it's working well, you're collaborating well together, then that's fantastic. Then it's another step further to making that commitment and going ahead with your project. And then freeing your headspace. When you have all of those decisions to make, it can be a drain on your soul and you feel you're taking it around your shoulders every single day. It's a lot of money to part with, a lot of time and a lot of disruption for you or your family. So to have that freedom in your mind again and go, yes, I've made those decisions. That person, that expert has got it in hand and I trust them. That's a fantastic feeling. And then that then leads on to releasing energy into your project. So you now have that headspace to go, right, I'm going to concentrate on the next part of the project now. And that might be, I need to look at more interiors. I can look at the garden in more detail now. I can focus on a hobby that I've got. And you're releasing that energy into your project and you become excited by it again, rather than getting bogged down. So that is a really positive thing to do, to become an artist of decision making.
So, approaching your chosen professional, which I think is a really interesting thing. Actually, just all these photographs that you've seen on the project area, all products that we've done. There's no stock photos. This was a project we did in just outside Guildford. A lovely couple actually we met at Grand Design. It was great fun working with them on the project. So basically, how do you choose any professional that you want to work with? I think one of the most important things that we really feel is a sense of resonance. And what I mean by that is that when you sit with someone, there's an energy that's actually being exchanged in the contact. And it's really interesting. I think one of the things that we are quite focused on here at the Myers Touch, and it's one of the things that really helped us with the Retailer of the Year award, was that we're very focused on the type of people that we're looking for. So all of our marketing is out there to draw people towards us. but it's actually also to push people away. There are some people that we'll talk to, have a lovely conversation with them, but do you know what? We're just not resonating with them, and we're not the right people for them, and that's okay, because there's other great places they can go to. Although there's some fantastic designers in the UK that one can work with. So resonance with your individual designer is really, really important. And another reason why is that the best design always comes from collaboration. And that collaboration is an intimacy of connection around the design process and drawing out of you the best you in the process. You know, we're not designing a home for us to live in. We're designing a home for you to live in. And therefore, for us to give you the best design, we have to be able to get that out of you. And resonance is a really, really critical part of that whole process. Having appropriate expertise. And actually, one thing that in a design talk that we do called, I've just completely forgotten the name of the design talk we do, but part of that we talk about there is, I say that everybody's do designers play it safe is the name of the design talk. You can see on our website if you want. One of the things we touch on there is that everybody is a kitchen designer. And in one sense, that's really good, because it's a lot of the programs we now see on TV. We can watch so many things now, and there's some fantastic programs from Brand Designs, which I think is a great program, to Your Home Made Perfect on BBC. I think that's also a great program, but there's many others. And what they're all in doing is empowering us to be great designers and have input and have style. But actually, as professional designers, we're doing this every single day, and we're experienced. And not only do we say that ourselves, other people are saying that about us. So look for people that have peer recognition and awards. Winning awards and being shortlisted for awards is really, really tough. It's hard to do, and it's hard to be up there, and it's very competitive. So when you're looking at that, we work with a number of architects here based in Winchester, and a lot of them have been up for amazing awards. One, we've just done a project a couple of years ago now that was up for Grand Design's House of the Year. So these are great things, and looking for those partners that can really help you through that process. But the whole track record, which is really about portfolio and about looking through what it is. I mean, although when you look at some of our projects, they seem very samey in some senses, and sometimes it is a little bit. What we're actually doing is we're designing for individual clients. Some of the projects that we do aren't necessarily my personal taste and style, but that's okay, because it's not about me. It's not me that has to live there. So looking through the portfolio track record and then seeing whether the expertise and the resonance you think can create something unique and special to you is a really powerful and important part of the whole process. And I just think there's this thing we kind of call something extra. And I'll just give you an example. I was at the optician's a couple of years ago, and I'd finished my appointment, and I was walking back out again. As I got to the front door and I looked out, it was absolutely bucketing down with rain. And I thought, okay, well, I've got I think I've had a coat or something. I didn't have anything. So I thought, I'll just sit down. But the optician said to me, oh, why don't you just take the brolly? I said, well, that'd be great. I'll take it, and I'll drop it back in a couple of days. Oh, no, just keep it. And I thought, oh, wow, that was just a little surprise. There was something extra that happened that I didn't expect. And I think sometimes it's looking for that little kind of something extra that you go, oh gosh, that was really nice, or that was unexpected. And I think that just kind of putting those four things together just starts to set you up in a really good way. I think anything in construction and building is quite stressful and is quite challenging. So I think one of the things that we're really key on is trying to be laughing with our clients at the end of a project. To laugh with a client means there's been an incredible success of maintaining the relationship. We've valued the time and effort that you as a client put into choosing us and working with us, and we want to honour and respect that and do the very, very best we can so that we can do that. It's not easy, like I said, sometimes, but getting over those things, which is coming back to our Light, Space and Laughter talk, which is one of our flagship talks, which we're actually doing next month, and we'll come on to that at the end, is what the laughter is in that whole process. So, believe it or not, that was the end, and literally we've got 5 minutes to go to 45 minutes, which I think was an amazing achievement, because it's really hard when you're preparing things to actually know what to do. So we'd like just to open it up, and just while Sophie's kind of getting prepared, and we can grab the mouse and have a look at the chat box, see what's going on in the chat box. That'd be very good. I just wanted to mention a couple of things just while we're here that are currently going on in the background. Just have a quick read of that and just see what we need to do. So just to let you know, our next design talk, which is creating kitchens with light, space and laughter, is really about our philosophy of design and how we think so often clients start projects from completely the wrong angle and completely the wrong process. And therefore, it's very difficult to get the right outcome if you started in the wrong place. Now, the plan is that Helen and myself will actually be in America there. So we're going to do it live from the Kitchen Bathroom International Show on the 10th of February. So if you can join us for that, there'll be emails going out. And tomorrow, if you want to book into it, you can go onto our events page and you should find it live on there. Hopefully that will be done by today. Jay mentioned about the Ask the Experts events on the 21st of January. They are currently running every Friday from the 21st. We stopped over the Christmas break and we'll be starting those. And they're great if you have little quick questions or you want to just drop in and say, oh, I'm just thinking this and how can I help? It's just kind of our commitment and just to make sure you have a successful project. Hopefully you can work with us. And if you can't, then that's okay. We're still here to make sure that goes well. A couple other things just to kind of finish off. This weekend, if you're in the south, in Farnborough, which is in North Hampshire, they have the Home Building and Renovation Show at Farnborough Airport. We're actually exhibiting there, and actually I'm also doing a very condensed version of the Light, Space and Laughter talk on the Sunday at their theatre that they have there. So if you want to join us, we have 20 free tickets. So if you want to email events@themyerstouch.co.uk or make contact with us, we can give you a code, give you a website link, and you can get a free ticket. They only work until Friday. You can't book it on the day of the event. So please feel free to do that. And the last thing before we get into questions is we run a dining club here, and we're delighted to have on the 26th of February, we have Shalina Paloma, who's the winner of MasterChef a few years ago now. And she's coming in and doing a private dining event we have 15 people. We only have 2 tickets left for that. They're about £90 to do that. Really, really unique opportunity to meet her. And if you watch MasterChef, you'll see her. She's a presenter and a judge on MasterChef. So she's really knows what she's doing. And it's a real intimate gathering here. It's in our studio here in Winchester. And it's the most delightful way to do. If you are interested in the tickets, I think if you go on our website, you'll find in our events page on the website, Helena, I know you're listening. If that's not right, can you just come and let me know? But if you want to do it, there's only 2 tickets left, so you just need to book that in. And if it's successful, then we will run it again. Okay, it's actually on, it's the 16th of February. Apologies for that, Angela. Thank you very much. Visit our event page for full details. Don't you love your amazing team when they just come and save you from making the most stupid mistakes? Anyway, any questions that we would like to run
There
through?
was one question that came up about lighting from Ben. So you said, do we incorporate lighting into the kitchen design as well? Yes, we do involve lighting details in the ceiling. So sometimes we're incorporating build downs. I don't know if you can see behind us, perimeter lighting, that sort of thing. So it'll be great for task lighting and task lighting and mood lighting throughout the kitchen. Also task lighting underneath the units we can include as well. Some people like to have it in the recess channel, which is where you place your hand to open the doors for the True Handlers kitchens. Somatic offer SLX kitchens, which offer that built in, and it's really beautiful, very, very sleek. But yes, we can do both of those for you. We can look at the ceiling detail and the task lighting within the kitchen itself in the furniture built in already for you. So yeah.
We do actually work with lighting designers as well. There's a few kind of companies that we have quite a relationship with to be able to do that. And although we can do basic lighting, we are not professional lighting designers. A lot of kitchen lighting is fairly straightforward. But when you have really awkward spaces or really big spaces or things like barns, and they're bringing a professional lighting designer can really transform a place. And lighting is so critical to what we, the outcome and feel of a building. Yeah. As we're answering these questions here, you'll just see a little video that we've got running. This is just taking through some of our projects and materials just to kind of keep you interested if you're falling asleep with, with us and exciting questions. So, more holistic, more holistic concepts. Yeah, I think that was just so holistic aspects of design, and actually there is um, a really interesting kind of thing at the moment is that kitchens are so much more than boxes and storage places and cooking in environments. We just do not have the time to touch on that. But if you go through our web pages, you'll see a number of talks. Some of the quality of them has got better as, you know, when COVID hit us, we used to run monthly design talks in the studio here. When COVID hit, suddenly we had to go online, and it was a real technical challenge at first, one, to get the equipment, and two, just to begin to learn how to do this sort of thing. So some of our early design talks weren't as polished, perhaps, in the sense of from a technical point of view, as what we're seeing now. But the content is really helpful. One that we do is called The Story of Why, is how we designed our studio and why it's been successful. And taking you just through that process, you begin to see the detail. And when we actually did our very first session, it actually was live in the studio. And at the end of it, we had about 10 people as we took around the studio. They just said, gosh, I never believed there was so much detail and information to get a great space. And one of the very interesting things about contemporary design is when you look at it, it looks very simplistic versus something like a very ornate, you know, Gothic or highly classic building. You can see all the intricate detail, and you kind of say, gosh, that all looks really, really complicated, whereas contemporary design looks a lot simpler. It's a very different form of design from an outcome point of view. But the design philosophy is about getting things right and in the right place and the right feelings and the right levels and light and space and movement and all these things collaborating together to create an outcome, which when you walk into a space, you get this amazing sense and feeling that you get from that. Any other questions that we've got to cover? Did we see anything?
I think that was everything. Scroll down.
I think Sophie has been an absolute star on the back here by dealing with, I can see lots and lots of things that she's done here to be able to do that. Perfect Life. I'll send a link. Oh yeah, thank you, Anne. Just going to send everybody a link if they would like to do that. Just let us know. If you, in terms of budget, is there a correlation between the value of the property and the value of a new kitchen, or the value per square foot meter? Well, Andrew, that's a lovely question, and if only it was that easy. And actually, in one sense, it's your choice ultimately. So let me explain what I mean by that. We work for very different types of people when it comes to budget. I think one of the things that the Myers Church has as a philosophy or an underlying thing is design. Good design can never be just about money. It's absolutely fundamental to the way we work. If good design was only for the rich and the wealthy and the famous, as it were, then there's something wrong there, because for me, great design needs to work in a council estate as well as it does in a manor house. And that's an intrinsic value. And that said, when you want to create a kitchen, there is cost to a unit, but you can spend £50 on a cabinet, £500 or £5,000 on a cabinet, but fundamentally, in one sense, does the same thing. So a very good analogy that most people understand is you can spend a few £100 on a car, a few thousand or 50,000 or £500,000 on a car if you wanted to, or probably 5 million if you really wanted to. So it's that sort of thing. It still gets you from A to B and functionally works the same way. So when you're coming to look at a cost of a kitchen and how it works, there is a physical square meter rate. Obviously, you have a bigger kitchen, it's going to cost more, and you have a smaller kitchen, it's going to cost less. But what you put in there with regard to worktops, you can very easily put a basic cabinet in with a laminate worktop. Overmount sinks can actually be very cost effective. And if you look at someone like Wren or something, they do that sort of thing, and they give very, very budget orientated kitchens, all about price. And that's great because there's a fantastic market for that sort of thing. Well, then you start to flip out and saying, okay, it's much more than just the practicality now. It's actually growing into what we call the 4 levels of design. And if you look at our Light, Space and Laughter talk, that will take you through the aspects of the 4 levels of design and what it means and how you get this kind of transcendent space that can really work and achieve so much more from a design point of view. So when you're coming in to say, how much do I get a return on my house? Well, I think one thing is because we've been so, in one sense, fortunate if you're in the housing market, but not fortunate if you're not. The increase in house pricing has given us this mentality that our house is not a home; it's an investment vehicle. And in one sense, that's not a bad thing. And we have kind of lost this sense of actually we're creating a home and a space for us to feel relaxed at home. Englishman's home is his castle, that sort of thing, where I can unwind, where I can feel that I've got space, where I feel safe. We did a whole marketing campaign on creating what was that? Oh, creating a place of safety in a hostile world. Now, that was just really kind of stretching, because in one sense, it's not a really hostile world, but maybe it is for some people. But creating these spaces where you do that. So it comes back right to the very first slide, which is talking about the value of what you're doing. For some people, they are happy to invest over the perceived value of the home. And we did a project up in Swindon a number of years ago now for a lovely gentleman, and he spent £50,000 on his kitchen. It was a wimpy home, valued at, he bought it brand new for £350,000. Now, that is not normal. That proportion is not normal, but it was his home. He knew what he wanted. He was going to stay there for a long time. He wanted to create a space. And when I saw him, he came to, actually, because when we launched our new studio here 6 years ago, he came with his wife and new baby to the opening event here. And he said, we never leave the kitchen. We just spend all our time there. Well, it's a wimpy house, so he's only got the kitchen, the downstairs toilet, the hallway, and the lounge. I mean, that's his house. But he spent all his time there. So for him, he wanted to invest in that and create that. And I think it comes back down to, we have many clients who are investing significant amounts of money because they have it into special spaces that it creates it for them. But actually, on the flip side of that, we want to make sure that whatever a client is investing, gives them the maximum return and benefit for what they're wanting to do.
Brilliant.